offense just hasn't been able to put their foot down. Oh, baby. Get it? Oh, boy. Absolute trickery. Awesome. What a play. The Lions bounce back in Arizona, coming out victorious 20-13 in this Week 3 matchup. Kind of on the heels of their running game and another strong performance by their defense. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Lions get back on track offensively this week. However, they failed to put their foot down on several occasions. We'll talk about that in some detail. Of course, the Lions ended up winning this football game 20-13. I think off the heels of both of their running backs, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, were really fantastic in this game. Really controlled the game up front on in the trenches through their offensive line, and really defensively held the Cardinals down. 13 points only to a team coming off a Week 2 performance where they scored 41 points, and they really held Kyler Murray in check. Again, we'll look at the stats here in detail. Lions will now move to 2-1 and continue the streak of being able to recover from losses. They have not lost back-to-back games since October of 2022, and the Arizona Cardinals will move down to 1-2. My overall thoughts on the game: I thought this was a good bounce-back performance for the Lions, coming off a tough loss to the Bucs in Week 2, coming into their first road game, a tough environment there against a good team, coming off a nice victory the week before, so had a lot of momentum. I thought the Lions responded well. I thought their run game was really at the forefront of what they did offensively, and really were able to play everything off of that, which made Jared Goff more comfortable early on, and they looked good early. They were able to open up the game with that touchdown score, and things really got rolling there. I think on the other side of the coin, though, the Lions offensively are still not able to put their foot down as far as points. 2 weeks in a row now, they've really dominated as far as time possession, yardage, but the points are not reflecting that. They're lucky that their defense was stout for the second week in a row, holding the Cardinals down to only 13 points, really containing Kyler Murray enough to where he wasn't a huge factor in this game. There were a couple key plays that he made, and we'll talk about that as we look at the scoring summary, the drive details, and the overall statistics. But again, I thought it was a good comeback win for the Lions. Again, they continue the streak of not losing back-to-back games, but I think, unfortunately, they're coming out of this with several injuries. We'll talk about that in detail as we look at this game in more detail, but guys like Aleem McNeil, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, just to name a few, went out of this game, on top of the fact that they didn't have Alex Anzalone. Another guy to mention is Derek Barnes. He went out on a cart, so that may be something that we need to look at. So a lot of things that they're going to have to look at coming out of this victory. There's still some open-ended questions, and it's going to challenge their depth moving forward. Let's quickly go through the scoring summary. Lions open up with a fantastic drive, kind of sticking to the ground game in their play-action game, featuring David Montgomery. A 9-play drive, 70 yards, 4 minutes, 44 seconds. They go up 7-0 on the David Montgomery rush. Cardinals respond well. Kyler Murray looks like everything he was in that Week 2 matchup, and you started to get nervous as a Lions fan. 8 plays, 70 yards, 5 minutes, 8 seconds, and they tie the game 7-7. Lions respond well again on a 13-play drive, 70 yards, getting Amon-Ra St. Brown involved in the offense at this point. He ends up scoring the 5-yard touchdown pass, a good out and in route. They're making it 13-7. Unfortunately, Jake Bates did miss the extra point. Teams then trade punts back and forth. Lions get the circus touchdown there, making it 20-7. You saw the kind of the slant pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, the hook and ladder to Jahmyr Gibbs running the opposite direction. Sam Laporta leading the way into the end zone for Gibbs. Unfortunately, Sam Laporta did get rolled up on, and that caused his ankle injury there in the game, which he went out for and then did end up coming back, so we'll have to monitor that. Lions went up 20-7 at that time. Cardinals are able to respond, put together a drive there right at the end of the half, kind of really went down there no problem, aided by a personal foul on Jalen Reeves-Maven. They were able to get a field goal out of Matt Prater, making it 20-10 at the half. Cardinals open up the second half with a decent drive, 5 plays, 34 yards. But this is where Kyler Murray, I think, makes his first big mistake of the game. He throws, I think they got quick up to the line we're trying to run sort of a seam route to Marvin Harrison Jr. He kind of threw it up there, I think trying to beat the Lions coverage, but Jacoby Joseph streaking across was able to jump and make the interception there and kind of turn that around. However, teams did trade punts. Jared Goff then had the tough interception to Gardick. I think he kind of got lost in the shuffle. It looked like Gardick was going to blitz, then fell back and undercut the route that he was trying to get to Brock Wright. That was a tough throw by Jared Goff and his lone interception. Both teams then mirror each other, trading fourth and outs there, so turning the ball over on downs. They then trade punts. Cardinals just not able to get anything going offensively. You got to credit the Lions defense, Aaron Glenn's scheme, even through all the injuries there. Losing Lee McNeil up front is tough. They were able to hold up in there. Hutch wasn't super productive today. He had the one sack at the end of the game, but again, there was a lot of focus from the Cardinals to make sure he didn't go off in this game, so that's a huge part of it. Again, the teams trade punts back and forth. Cardinals are able to drive down the field there towards the end of the fourth quarter. A 9-play drive, 67 yards, lasting 3 minutes. Did get the field goal, bringing it to 20-13. Lions offense went stagnant in the second half, did not score any points, but were able to hold off the Arizona Cardinals, ultimately getting the necessary first downs in that last drive to eat out the clock. Lions win the game 20-13. Let's buzz down these team stats, and you'll see a common theme here for the Lions over the last several weeks in controlling the game offensively and in possession, but just unable to put up points. Now, in this case, they were able to win this football game. They got the necessary plays at the end of the game to milk this thing out. Ultimately, they won the first down battle 23-17. Total plays, Lions 68, Cardinals 53. Total yardage goes to the Lions 373 to the Cardinals 277. Both teams had the one interception. Rushing, the Lions were really good today. I thought their offensive line and the rushing attack really held their own, kind of reestablished themselves in this game and showed the true strength of what the Lions offense is. 187 total ground yards for the Lions to 77 only for the Cardinals. That was really only Kyler Murray. James Conner got nothing going, and we'll look at that here in some detail. 43 rushing attempts for the Lions for those 187 yards. Lions finished 2 for 2 in the red zone. So coming off of that 1 for 7 in the game against the Bucs, they got to feel good about their red zone percentage here today. However, penalties, I think that was tough. The Lions struggled with penalties today. They were a little bit sloppy. They had some tough penalties against them at some bad times. A roughing the quarterback penalty. There was the Jalen Reeves-Maven penalty there that gave them the extra possession where they ended up scoring. So just some tough things there the Lions will have to clean up again. Both teams had the one interception, so the one turnover, and the Lions controlled the time of possession, 36-49 to the Cardinals 23-11. And let's look at the box score and those stats. Starting with the passing side, Jared Goff finishing 18 of 23 for 199 yards, the 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was sacked twice. Kyler Murray, 21 of 34, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Just the one time by Aiden Hutchinson. On the ground, I think, was the big difference. We talked about the Lions being able to control the game through the trenches, and they were able to do that really on both sides of the football. But up front, offensively and rushing the football is where it really shined today. David Montgomery, 23 carries, 105 yards and the touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 16 carries, 83 yards. And again, had the touchdown in the air on the trick play. Both running backs, really fantastic. To me, they are the best running back duo in the NFL. When you get those guys going, everything else can play off of that. We'll talk about the Lions and their issue scoring points, but really on the heels of their rushing game, I thought they were very good today. On the other end of the coin, the Arizona Cardinals just could not get anything going on the rush side of things. James Conner was a non-factor, 9 rushes, 17 yards. Kyler Murray led the charge for them with 5 rushes, 45 yards, really all scramble attempts. Trey Benson came in for a couple yards, but really nothing else there. Total 77 yards only on the ground, with 45 of them being directly from Kyler Murray. Receiving numbers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think the star of the day receiving-wise for the Lions, 7 receptions, 75 yards, had the touchdown catch, plus aided in the hook and ladder touchdown, so a huge factor today for the Lions. Sam Laporta had a few catches, again struggled with, now will be the ankle injury, so we'll have to look into that. Brock Wright played a factor, 4 catches for 34 yards. David Montgomery had 3 catches for 17 yards. Jamison Williams really not a huge factor today. I think the Cardinals honed in on him a little bit, so like that reverse they were ready for, things like that. So they'll have to figure out kind of how to work him back in. Arizona, I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. continue to show that he is really going to be one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL. He's got everything that you want in a wide receiver. 5 receptions, 64 yards, had the score. Probably could have had another one, but something was forced in there to him. Michael Wilson was good today for them. 8 catches, 64 yards. Greg Dortch, who was looking like he may have been a scratch today, had 3 receptions for 35. Trey McBride, 3 for 25. Defensively, Brian Branch, I thought, played really, really well. Again, we'll have to monitor what that neck injury was or the head injury was on that tackle of the tight end. But he had 9 total tackles, 6 solo, and 1 tackle for loss. Carlton Davis played a decent game. He had 7 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Aiden Hutchinson, like we said, had the 1 sack, 6 tackles. Malcolm Rodriguez with 5. Jack Campbell with 4. Kirby Joseph, of course, had the interception. On the other end, Arizona, I thought Kazir White played really, really well. He led them in tackling, 10 tackles. Jalen Thompson, Mac Wilson Sr., Dante Stills, Zaven Collins, Dennis Gardick, Bilal Nichols all had tackles for loss. So defensively, I thought they played decent. Holding Detroit down to 20 points should have given their offense a chance to win the game. Unfortunately, Detroit just played a little bit better defensively and actually held the Cardinals more in check. So a big difference in that game, something we couldn't have said for Lions teams of the past. And you got to feel good about that defensively. I also don't want to leave these statistics without looking at the Jack Fox numbers. Now, obviously, statistic-wise on a punter, it's not going to scream out to you. He had 5 punts today, but 4 of them were inside the 20. One of them was literally inside the 2-yard line. He had a 68-yard long. Every punt he hits is flipping the field for the Lions. And not just flipping the field, but so much so that it's putting the Lions defense in such a good position they're able to maintain these games. 13 points to the Cardinals is great, and a lot of that is because Jack Fox is putting them in a good position coming back the other way. So I thought he was fantastic yet again for the Lions. All right, let's give out some game balls and talk about our MVPs here from this Lions victory over the Cardinals, 20-13 on the road here in Week 3. Let's start offensively. Game balls, I think you got to give one to Jared Goff. I thought he came back and had a great bounce-back performance. He wasn't perfect. I think there's still some things to work on offensively. Overall, they need to figure out how to put their foot down on these games, how to open up second halves in a much better position. But just going back to individual players, I thought Jared Goff was good today. He seemed poised. He seemed confident. There was a stretch there where he hadn't not completed a pass. I think it was 12 for 12. At one point there. So really, really good today. He certainly deserves a game ball. I thought the offensive line in total, they all deserve a game ball in general. I thought they were very good today, especially on the running game. Both running backs certainly deserve game balls. They were both fantastic. But I think the MVP of the offense today was David Montgomery. I just thought he ran with so much strength and power. He was the spirit behind the victory today. I think you could give it to the entirety of the offensive line. But to me, the start, it was close between David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, statistically and obviously with the touchdowns and his involvement, you could certainly make that case. But to me, you had to get everything reestablished on the ground. For everything else to work, they had to get that point moving and to open up the game on the back of David Montgomery, and they went back to him several points throughout the game. And I love that so much. I thought in Week 2 loss, they got away from David Montgomery too much. Well, they went back to him and leaned on him on several occasions, then used Jahmyr Gibbs off him. So I just thought everything worked very well in the run game there. So David Montgomery is my offensive MVP. Defensively, it was a little tougher. Certainly game balls to go around. I think Brian Branch deserves a game ball. Aiden Hutchinson deserves a game ball. I thought Carlton Davis was pretty good today. He also deserves a game ball. Without having Alex Anzalone there, I think you got to give Jack Campbell some credit. He also deserves a game ball today. I thought he was very good. I think we need to see more and more flashes of him, but I think he deserves a shout out today. With the lack of AA, the linebacking crew had to step on, and I thought they did a very good job. Overall, I thought the defense was really fantastic, really contained Kyler Murray, and that's what you had to do today to get that victory. As far as the overall defensive MVP, I'm going to give it to Brian Branch, and I hope that this neck or head injury isn't anything serious. He went into the tent. He certainly looked dazed and confused there for a minute. I hope it's nothing overly serious. We'll have to keep our ears to the ground, and I'll keep you posted here on the channel. But I thought he was really, really good. Several passes defended today, had the tackle for loss, was all over the field. It was really between him and Kirby Joseph. I thought both safeties were really good. Didn't give up any huge plays. And again, I thought we're very good today. So my offensive MVP, David Montgomery. My defensive MVP, Brian Branch. But I'm going to give my overall game ball, my overall MVP for Week 3 to David Montgomery. I just think that, without leaning on him, without that opening drive, establishing the dominance up front, I don't think the rest of this thing happens today. So for the Lions, I think David Montgomery was their overall MVP. So overall, big picture, Lions go to 2-1. They will come back home next week for a Monday night matchup with the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks. It'll be a very interesting game here. The Lions certainly will need the extra day of rest to hopefully get back some of these injured players. The early bye week is certainly looking better and better now. I was worried about that before we started the season, but now with these early injuries, that may be a blessing in disguise. But again, they'll get the extra day. A really good matchup for NFC playoff positioning early on in the season. It'll be nice to get back to Ford Field. Lions get a victory here on the road at Arizona, 20-13. Again, I thought that there were a lot of opportunities for the Lions to really put their foot down in this matchup, but they just didn't do so. So they're coming out of this. It wasn't perfect. I think offensively things are starting to come together. I think the formula is starting to show. They just need to be able to finish. They need to start second halves better. They need to put their foot down in these games if they're really going to be a Super Bowl contender. You know, as we get later on in the season, as we're playing better competition and then get in the playoffs, they need to be able to score touchdowns and just put their foot down at the end of these games. And that's still left open-ended. Defensively, I think they have so much positivity, so much to look forward to. Yes, they'll have to monitor some of these injuries, Aleem McNeil, Derek Barnes, but they do have depth pieces to get by so they can continue to make this thing work. And I think that's been the most pleasant surprise so far. So again, we have a good Monday night matchup coming up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for another video. If you dig the vibe here at Johnny Guest Sports, make sure to hit that like button. It is the best free way to help out the channel. There's a membership option available where we did our live play-by-play reaction today. We'll have our tier list there, all our highlight reactions. Of course, I'll have all the fun free content that you've come to love here on the channel as well. Thank you guys so much for your time. What a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy your week. Go Lions.